Today's program is, I think you're going to find real interesting. It's something that's not only just interesting, but absolutely important. So this really needs your attention, and it's going to ultimately need your support. We have members from the Worcester Initiative for Supported Reentry. So we're going to learn what that is, WISR, and we're going to speak to some of the representatives and project directors and persons involved with the development for that. So joining us today is Dave McMahon. He's the co-project director for the Worcester Initiative for Supported Reentry. He's also the co-executive director at the Dismas House, and he's been here before. It's good to see you, Dave.
Good seeing you. Thanks for having us.
And also, my pleasure. And also joining us is Carlton Watson. Carlton Watson. He's the president and CEO of the Willis Center and also co-director of the project. Carlton.
Thank you.
You know, I messed up the name on purpose. It draws extra attention. And also Opal Stone, who's the director of development and communication for the Willis Center.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you, Opal. And well, tell us a little bit about, first of all, before we get into the WISR, let's talk about your respective missions. Tell us a little bit about what the Dismas House is about, and we'll also talk about the Willis Center.
Sure. You know, at Dismas, we're a local Worcester nonprofit. We work with men and women and families who are affected by the issues of incarceration and homelessness. And at multiple locations in the area, we primarily focus on housing and primarily on the reentry of people who are coming out of prisons and jail in the area and try to help them on their pathway back to the community. So our mission is all about the reconciliation of society and men and women coming out of prison and family reunification. And we do that at 3 locations in Greater Worcester.
Very good. And the Willis Center?
The Willis Center, the formal name is Henry D. Willis Community Center, Inc., and we short Willis Center. We are a diverse, community-based, minority community-based organization. We provide services to homeless families, to adolescents in the custody of Department of Social Services, Department of Children and Family now, and we also provide significant services for people who are in substance recovery as well. We have a food pantry in Great Brook Valley and in Plumley Village. We're providing this safety net for people who are in need. Our focus is on providing accessible and quality services for those people who typically may not have access to that, and we engage them in a culturally way so that they can feel that they belong there and they can in fact be able to change the quality of their lives. And that's what we're seeking to do, and we work with a group of very, very talented people throughout Central Mass in doing that as well.
So tell me about the Worcester Initiative for Supported Reentry. You know, what is that in particular as a project?
The Worcester Initiative for Supported Reentry, which we also call WISR, is a collaborative partnership-based project that focuses on the pivotal issues that formerly incarcerated individuals and their communities face, namely jobs, employment, housing, and public safety. And the goal of the project is to provide a coordinated system of care from pre-release, before they leave prison, bridge that transition into the community, and provide them with highly supported case management to help them ensure that they can be successful outside of the justice system.
Okay, so...
And the reason for that is that 4 out of 10 people coming out of prison, the research of the evidence shows that they'll be returning to prison, which means that they're going to be, in a very short time, I should add.
Within 3 years.
Within 3 years.
4 of 10 return.
Yes, which means that the cycle of crime continues, the community suffers, and people then continue to be threatened and to be uncertain about their safety. And it costs. It costs an average of $47,000 or $45,000 to $47,000 a year to incarcerate an individual. So the issue is for us to be able to change that and alter that and create a more safe environment for our community of people coming back out so that they can be successful and they're not continuing to commit crimes.
Mm-hmm. Now, Opal, you mentioned that from pre-release, bridging, and then giving them highly supported care. Can we talk a little bit about each one of those sections a little bit? What's going on in a pre-release time frame? Is there, determining, is there criteria to determine whether or not this person will qualify for the program or not? You tell me.
Sure. WISR is in its pilot year, and this year we would like to serve 25 men who are being released from prison. And these are men who will be under the supervision of Superior Court probation once they're released. They'll be between the ages of 18 and 50. And other restrictions include individuals who have not had a sex offense, an arson offense, or a murder offense, murder charge. And it's for men who are interested in treatment, men who have a positive view and are looking for supportive services. So again, those services for jobs, employment, housing, treatment, whatever that case may be.
So does that presuppose psychiatric conditions, I should say?
You know, one of the issues that we have right now is that people are just not properly assessed in prisons. And part of this project is ensuring that they are assessed. And so WISR is using a myriad of evidence-based methodologies that have been approved by the Bureau of Substance Abuse Services from DPH and the federal SAMHSA, which is the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Association.
That we have a partnership with the Department of Corrections. We have a partnership with Superior Court Probation. And with the Department of Corrections, they're engaged in reentry activities. However, they're doing it within the institutions, and they're not able to follow the person out. And so we are working with them to match with what they're doing, picking up with that person before the person comes out, then tracking that person out with that individual plan that Opal talked about, and working with the probation officer in the community, providing additional supports and services and attention for that person, so that when the person is struggling, there's a place for him to go to and assist to get employment, to get the housing, to work with his family, those kinds of things. And so it's one of the intent of the project is to work to integrate the systems where we are working together. You would think that we do, but we all are working in our separate ways.
What kind of time frame are we looking at, say, from the pre-release time to whatever's expected through the case management?
We're going to be following the person for a year to 2 years. And then probation will be following the person beyond that as well. The time frame when the person is released, we'll work with them once they have agreed to enter the program same conversation, working with the Department of Corrections, reentry people. We'll work with the individual, then they're released, and we are then tracking them. I would think it would take anywhere from a month, 2 months, 3 months, so it depends on their release date. Then we will then work with them in that transition.
Okay.
So the idea is we would meet with them 30 to 60 days before they're released, maybe even up to 90 days, to do that assessment, start the individual service plan, and start lining up resources on the outside so that they're prepared once they leave.
Yeah. Now, you mentioned earlier that it's a pilot program. What are the goals of the WISR, the longer term?
Well, the longer term goals, I think, are to create a better system for guys coming out of prison. So we spent a whole year before we even are launching this pilot year just looking at, a community survey to kind of determine what do we need in the community, and looking at the best practices around the country with Brandeis. So understanding those two things, the community needs and the best practices, and merging them in our community. So the WISR project is the result of that in terms of the new pathway out of prison that we envision. In the future, we envision expanding it once we can prove that this new system works, and also just a better coordination. I mean, this is the first time as a community in Worcester we have everyone sitting around the table and working together on the issues. So we have other groups. We have a reentry roundtable that consists of corrections and judges and others looking at different components, such as employment. There was a survey of employers in Massachusetts, and 2/3 of employers would not willingly hire somebody that they know is an offender. So that's a barrier that Opal was referring to that we have to overcome by applying ourselves. We have a judge, Pat Fox, who's heading up a committee looking at that issue and how do we find employers who might be willing to work with our guys. That's the number one issue they identify as a problem coming out of prison for their own reentry.
And I just want to add that the ultimate goal is to reduce recidivism. We would like to see a reduction of men recidivating back into prison and the damage it does to community.
Who are some of the other, go ahead.
You would ask a question about the duration, and this is the pilot year, and David had indicated that the funding from the Health Foundation, which we are grateful for in terms of the Health Foundation, seeks to fund projects to impact upon systems, and that this will be a 4 to 5 year grant cycle, allowing us to test it, then expanding it, and be able to provide the intervention over time. And another component is then seeking different way of funding it so that after the funds and the Health Foundation funding cycle ends, it can continue if in fact, yes, it's sustainable, especially with it proving that it can be effective.
Yeah, and that's where you come
Matters.
Yes,
That's right.
yes,
in. The development work.
yes.
Yeah, well, I wish you much success with that. Who are some of the other collaborative partners that you want to mention?
Sure, there's a lot of folks involved. On our steering committee in particular, we have the City of Worcester Workforce Development, and Don Anderson and his team are looking at the employment issue. We have Spectrum Healthcare, so they're the ones who are going to be administering the assessment behind the walls, and also they just provide some expertise in our steering committee. Jeremiah's in, it's a social model rehabilitation housing program right in Maine South. Community Christian Church. Trying to think if, of course, Superior Court Probation too is a key a player in terms of helping with the accountability side of it and helping direct participants into the program itself. So those are the main folks who are involved at the steering committee level.
And at the round table, we have a larger group, which is, as Jay mentioned, just about everyone involved in criminal justice work. So we have the sheriff and the sheriff's office, again, the court. We have some judges involved as well. We have other social services providers working within the community within this area, and just some community-based folks as well, in addition to the corrections. They're at the table with us. So really bringing together the large group of people involved in doing this work to think and plan for how can we make this change.
And I think, going back to one of your other questions, one of the things that many of these organizations have realized is that this revolving door of incarceration, the costs associated with that cannot be sustained. We can't continue with that. And people are really looking at how we can change behaviors, increase public safety, make our communities healthier, and avoid people returning to prison, which has a lot of costs related to it.
Right, that's how you're going to know if it's a success, right?
Correct.
If you take 20,
Absolutely.
do you have any expectations as far as
Yes.
what are your goals
Our
for the
goal
25?
is 30%.
30, yeah. That's fantastic. So what can the community do to help you, and what would you like to let the community know, or our viewers know, about the work you're doing, or how they can help you, or to address the issue about sustainability of this?
Well, I would just encourage, there's going to be a number on the screen that if people want more information about the program, they obviously could call me and I'd be willing to discuss with them. But also, like I mentioned, the study that showed the employers and the challenges for men coming out of incarceration. We're particularly looking for work for these guys. So people can call there if they might have a job that would be a good fit for our participants. So we encourage people to get involved at that level. And what's great about this project is that we will have the support for them as they're entering the workforce. So I just encourage folks to call and either for information or if they want to help out on the employment side.
Yeah, so if you're an employer out there, you want to call the number that's on the screen right there, 799-9389, right? And they're going to be talking to your office on that, aren't they?
That's correct.
Coordinating work, basically, for those that need it in this program, for the participants in this program.